For this next video, I want to show some of the simple drawing tools in VCarve. As a quick review, um, you've already set up your piece depending on what project you're doing. This white rectangle is representative of your piece. You can zoom in and zoom out. If you ever get yourself in trouble, you can always zoom it back to fit and puts it back in the middle. So that's a useful tool in there. Again, some of the mechanics, you're familiar with file operations and zooming around. What I want to start on in this video is how to use some of the basic drawing tools. I'm going to start off with a simple rectangle, and I'm going to draw it something like this, and I'm going to do it on purpose off center. I could enter in the exact values here if I wanted to, so I'll do something around about what I've got, maybe 1.650. Doesn't really matter, and I click apply and then I close. When you're using VCarve, you will see your shapes in black, and then you can get them in a pink purpley color, and if you double click on them, you will get these what I call the handles, so you can resize or reshape what you're doing. Once you get those, you have the ability to go back and manipulate the sizes that you want. But once you have your shape that you want, a very simple and powerful tool I use often is the align tool. If you click on this, you can align your design or your shape to the material, either left, right, top, bottom, or click the middle one and boom, it gets it right in the middle. So that's a very powerful tool. When you're drawing your shapes, the software does not call them sort of shapes or whatever. They use the word vectors. And I really need you to understand when you're drawing any of your shapes, you're doing a vector. And a vector is best described as a line. I need a line that is going to be followed by the machine when we do our carving or our CNC machining. So every time that you're using the design side of the software, the CAD side of the software over here, you're going to be thinking, I need to draw lines or vectors or something for it to follow. As always, when you're using the software, make sure that you're saving regularly. Doesn't matter what you do, but save it as something so that you're always keeping it updated. I have students many times doing work and something goes wrong and they lose your file. You can always go in here, and if you need to, instead of just hitting Control S, hitting save, do a save as, and make sure you know where it's being saved, whether you're putting it in your G drive or you're putting it on a USB or somewhere. Make sure you know where you're saving it. Okay? So once you've got that done, you've done a simple shape. Depending on what you're doing, either a circle, an oval, rectangles, whatever, you will have a shape on there. And when you click it in pink and highlight, now I want to run my simulation. I want to actually make a design with this for the machine. So I'm done over here with the CAD side of it, the CAD, computer aided design, and I'm going to move over to this side, which is the CAM side, CAM, computer aided machining, computer aided manufacturing. We're going to do a toolpath, and it'll make more sense at the end of the video, but follow along what I do. Click on Profile Toolpath. There are other ones, we'll do those another time. But for now, we're going to do this. 2D Profile Toolpath. The start depth, you can see they leave it as a D, and for most things that you do, leave it as a 0. In advanced topics later on, we may change that number. Cut depth, I'm going to put it for something like this, 10 thousandths of an inch, 0.010. That's 10 thousandths of an inch. I'm going to do engraving, and I'm going to pick the V bit. That's this one that I've shown in the class demo, I think, that little V cutter. And we will worry about these settings another time. Let's just pick this. For the simulation I want to run on the computer, it will be fine. So I have a V bit. You have to set where you want the machine to follow the vector. This is the line, say, for example. Do you want the cutter to go on the outside of the line, the inside of the line, or on the line? Stay on the line. And this will be the choice that we make for most of what we're doing. Stay on the line. Rest of the settings, leave them as they are. The big thing is students make a mistake on. You need to do this all the time. Please, 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 all the time. Change the name of the toolpath. Try to pick an English word that reflects what you're trying to do. So I'm going to make a border on my design. I'm going to choose a name for this toolpath called border. When I hit calculate, the computer will take all of these settings and say, okay, what values of X and Y, what values do I need for this to run? And when you click calculate, it will switch views. It will switch to this second tab. And on this tab, this is that piece of wood that I set up in the initial configuration. And you'll see this line. And when you click play, it's going to run a simulation of that cutter, that V cutter, following that vector path all the way around. Just because we're learning, I'd like to suggest you set the speed way down. It's still going to go pretty fast, but it will help when you're learning. Now I click, you could see very quickly this cutter went all the way around. And this is the design that I wanted to do with my path, and that's roughly what the cutter will do, that V cut on that line. Again, I'm zooming in. Carve doesn't have the best graphics, but you can see roughly the simulation. The computer aided my machining idea. If I get in trouble, I can zoom to fit, or I can reorient it back. If I want to see it again, I can hit reset preview. And then you could see that cutter zinging around, and then I can close it. There's that path, that simulation, that sort of indication of what it would look like if you did want to run it. I'm going to click save, so I save that toolpath. And then I can go back and say, you know what, maybe I want to try that a little bit deeper. So I can go in here and I'll say, I'll go 40 thousandths of an inch. Recalculate all of those things, reset the preview, and run it again. And now I can see that cutter going around. And what will it look like? Well, that's roughly what it's going to look like if I wanted to make that V cut follow that line. You can kind of see the graphics, what the V cutter is going to do for that shape. That's it for now. That's how you can do a simple simulation of a machining operation using the VCarve software, designing it on the CAD side and then running the simulation on the CAM side.